Construction mistakes are bound to happen from time to time, but the worst of them can result in the loss of human life. From an underground subway that caused a building to collapse to a Hyatt hotel mistake that cost over 100 lives. On this episode of Built a Billion, we present to you the deadliest construction mistakes, part 2. And make sure you stay till the end of the video to see the deadliest of them all. If you love to hear about all the mega projects of the world, please subscribe to the channel and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. It'll really help the channel out. Cologne City Archive Collapse. When building a city, workers have to be extremely careful. Any mistake can have dire consequences for the buildings around them. In 2009, the building of a metro line beneath the city of Cologne, Germany, caused the entire Cologne City Archive building to collapse, leading to 2 deaths and 2 billion euros in damages. Upon investigation, it was found that one of the underground diaphragm walls of the subway station had caused so much water, sand, and gravel to flow beneath the building that it eventually caused its foundations to crumble and wash away. Thousands of important documents were lost, making it the worst instance of construction-related negligence in the city's history. Boston scaffold failure. Most construction mistakes happen during construction, but some happen while buildings are being taken down. And that's what happened at Boston's Emerald College in 2006. While workers were disconnecting a scaffolding they placed on a dormitory, they chose to disconnect a final metal tie that was securing the 3-ton platform to the building without first attaching the scaffold to a crane. This resulted in a dangerously dangling scaffold 30 meters in the air. Because it had a weatherproof tarp on it, the wind caught it and made it crash onto the street below. Tragically, 3 people were crushed by the platform, making it one of the worst takedown attempts in history. Charing Cross subway collapse. This next tragedy shows why proper building maintenance is vital. On December 16th of 1905, a 20-meter-long steel beam collapsed onto the platform below. This in turn caused most of the iron and glass roof to collapse, smashing many of the wooden box cars of the subway train and killing 6 people. 27 others were injured in the accident. After inspection, it was discovered the weight of the construction materials caused the ceiling to collapse, leading the entire station roof to fall. With a little more care, this situation could have been completely avoided. Lahore-Multan Railway. This project resulted in the loss of not human life, but of historical integrity. When it comes to the construction of the Lahore-Multan Railway, there was more tearing down than anything. Harappa, the archaeological site in Pakistan, was badly damaged to provide material for the railway. Harappa is an ancient city that existed between 2600 and 1900 BCE and is very important to archaeologists. Naturally, the British wanted to create a railway and quickly dismantled the ancient site and used the bricks from the ruins on the track. The ancient city today is much less intact than it was a couple hundred years ago. Greater Noida building collapse. To make it plain, the contractors who built the Greater Noida apartment building in India were really cheap. The decision was made to use insufficient materials to create the large apartment building. First, it was found that the ratio of cement to sand while preparing construction was not 1:5, but 1:20. Then the iron beams on the structure were not the recommended thickness of 22 to 25 millimeters, but were just 10 to 12 millimeters. Water gathered in the basement and made the base much weaker, which was the last straw for a disaster waiting to happen. 9 people died in the collapse, making it one of the worst disasters for the region, undoubtedly. Akura hotel collapse. Building regulations are important to ensure construction failures don't happen. But in the world's poorest countries, regulations aren't enforced. One instance of this is the Akura hotel collapse in Akura, Nigeria. In 2011, a hotel collapsed due to many shoddy practices. The cement mix wasn't evenly distributed throughout the building, and the steel reinforcement bars were just too thin, making them unable to hold the weight of the materials being used. Worst of all, the builders never even went to architectural school, leading to the poor design. Hyatt Regency. In 1981, a walkway collapsed inside the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Kansas City, killing 114 people and injuring 216 more. At the time, it was the deadliest structural collapse in US history until 9/11, and authorities were in disbelief when they found out just how the mistake was made. During construction, workers separated the suspension beams that held the bridge up into two separate sections. This forced a single steel ball to hold 50 tons of weight, which eventually gave out, causing the bridge to fall. The Hyatt collapse is now taught to engineering students as a classic model for engineering ethics and safety. Before we get to number 1, here's our honorable mention, the molasses flood. In the early part of the 20th century, molasses was the cat's pajamas. Molasses is a viscous substance made of sugarcane or sugar beets used to sweeten and flavor foods. It's also one of the stickiest substances known to man. Back in 1919, Boston's Purity Distilling Company stored molasses for transfer to a fermentation facility that used it to produce ethanol. And everything was fine until one day, a tank holding 2.3 million gallons of molasses burst and flooded the entire north end of Boston at 35 miles per hour and reaching a height of 25 feet. The flow was strong enough to knock over entire buildings, and some people were stuck waist high in molasses, while some drowned. The total death count was 21 people, and the company had to pay an equivalent of $9 million in damages. Maybe this is why molasses kind of fell out of favor over the years. Gleno Dam. Dams are expensive construction projects. The materials used to build them have to be top of the line in order to avoid any mishaps. But the builders behind the Gleno Dam missed that part of engineering school, because 40 days after its construction, the dam collapsed. This resulted in a flood that killed 356 people from nearby villages. This mistake was a direct result of negligence from everyone, from workers to designers. The workers didn't use proper cement mortar. They didn't even let the cement set before filling the reservoir and reinforce the cement with anti-grade netting that had been left over from World War I. This was of course unsuitable for the job. But the biggest issue was that the dam's design was changed halfway through construction. It was supposed to be a gravity dam, and a gravity dam foundation was built, but then the design changed to a multiple arch dam due to lack of funding. As a result, the two sections of the dam were poorly joined together on top of all of the other deficiencies. I, for the life of me, can't figure out how this was allowed. What do you think about these deadly construction mistakes? Let me know in the comments below. We've been so grateful for the subscribers we've gotten so far. Part 1 of this series should be on the screen, so click that video on the screen to watch something you haven't seen. And thanks for visiting Built a Billion.